Hi, going to be going over the orderIT system to determine the trade activity and buy and sell opportunities. There were 14 trades today. 6 were indicated as buy and 8 were indicated as short sells. First trade is FB. It's Facebook Incorporated. It tripped at 11:45 a.m. at a buy price of $287.49. It was actually a buy trade. It closed the day at $286.55. It was up at $346, so it was up a good portion of the day, but again it was down below its tripping price. So we'll just see here 11:45, so right around here is when it tripped. 288.10, so it did come up to 288.56, 289, 288.67. Okay, so it was up a good portion of the afternoon above its tripping price, so I consider that a positive. It did end the day down a bit, but you can see it was somewhat moving sideways, so this was not a dangerous stock. OBD is actually showing that it was dropping in the afternoon. Did make a bit of recovery at the end of the day. MACD showing the same thing. DI is actually showing very strongly moving negative in the afternoon. And the Bollinger Band is equivalently showing that too. While the actual activity of the stock itself wasn't showing drastic, Bollinger Band actually showing that it was fairly drastic in the afternoon, moving negative. So the indicators are showing actually somewhat a negative of what you would perceive from just the stock price. But again, there was opportunity to buy and get out positive on the stock. Next trade is DE, Deere & Company. It tripped at 11:55.08 at a price of $259.34. It was tripped as a short sell. It closed the day at 255.13, down 2.48%, and it was down below its tripping price, so that's another positive. And again, just to go through the analysis. This is not the right trade. This is the right trade. Okay. OBD showing that it was fairly much moving down for the whole day. MACD bouncing back and forth. The morning no direct, but you can see in the afternoon it was actually moving fairly strongly negative and then moving a bit sideways. So again, it did move fairly heavily in the early afternoon negative. DI showing practically right across the board the whole day it was negative. Bollinger Band showing that it would just drop the whole day. So indicators were somewhat in line with the actual activity. Next trade is CPE. That's Callan Petroleum. It tripped at 11:55.16 at a price of $9.53. It was a short sell. It closed the day at 9:54. It was actually up from previous close, but it was pretty much down where it tripped. So we can see 11:55, so roughly around this area. 9:45, so it did drop there. It was down below there too, so this point here is down, and then it came down again, down. Okay, so we've got at least an hour to an hour and a half of time during the day that was down below its tripping price. So that is, for me, a positive, even though it somewhat came up during the afternoon. The analysis, OBD not concretely showing anything. It actually showed a bit of a rise at the end of the day, OBD-wise. MACD actually was showing moving down at the end of the day, but it was actually moving fairly positive for the most part. As you can see, it tripped around this time where DI was coming down. MACD showing positive. So MACD is not concrete. There was some negative points. Obviously the point at when it tripped, and a bit in the afternoon. DI a bit more concrete. It was fairly much negative till the early afternoon, then came a bit positive, and then came negative. Bollinger Band is basically showing the same thing. Down in the morning, somewhat moving sideways in the afternoon, and then coming down again at the end of the day. So this stock was definitely moving downwards on an average basis. Next trade is DHI, DR Horton. It tripped at 12:05.30 at a price of 72.60. It was tripped as a short sell. It closed at 72.09, down 3.23%, so that's another positive trade. OBV showing moving sideways until the mid-afternoon, and late afternoon it just dropped. MACD showing the same thing in the afternoon. It dropped, but pretty much bouncing back and forth. DI, it was somewhat fairly negative for the day. There's a couple of points where it was positive, but fairly negative for the day. Bollinger Band basically showing a consistent drop downwards. Next trade is FOXA, Fox Corporation. It tripped at 12:29.53 at a price of 30.48. It was a short sell. It closed the day at 13.14, but it was up 4.51%. So we'll see if there's any point here today. It was actually moving positive above its tripping price. 12.29. So right around here. It did come up here. 30.56. Yeah. Okay, and then dropped. Okay, so you can see right around the point that when it tripped, it had probably a good half an hour of time it's above. While not enough, I consider that as still a positive, because there's a point where you could have got out on this stock and made money, even though you can see at the end of the day it actually dropped a bit and then moved sideways. So it definitely has a strong possible if it was not a buy. OBV showing that it was moving somewhat consistently upwards, and then again a little bit of a reversal at the end of the day, but not drastic. MACD is actually showing it moving negative early morning and till early afternoon, and recovered a bit and moved sideways. So MACD is actually not showing very strongly positive. DI, it was positive in the morning. And a bit positive in the afternoon, and recovered at the end of the day. And you can see Bollinger Band somewhat showing that again. It raised and basically started moving sideways, but then had a bit of a reversal here in the mid-afternoon, and just to move sideways in the afternoon. But again, it's a positive because it was a period of time after it tripped that you could have gotten out. HUYA Incorporated tripped at 1:27 p.m. at a price of 20.05. It was a short sell. It closed the day at 2012 at 2.75% below its previous close. It was down, but then it rised up above its stripping price. We'll see if, yeah, you can see right around here, but you can see it came down, and then basically recovered at the end of the day a bit, which has brought it up above, but still, there was all kinds of time during the day that you could have made money on that stock because it was below its tripping price. Excuse me. OBV, volume-wise, it was showing it was moving somewhat negative on an average basis for the day, but nothing drastic. MACD showing negative in the early afternoon and mid-afternoon. That's basically positive for the rest of the day, so basically half and half. DI though showing it was fairly much negative for a good portion of the day. It did make a recovery at the end of the day, but you can see that DI is showing that it was negative. Bollinger Band showing a somewhat consistent drop for most of the day. It did make a recovery in the afternoon. You can see at the end of the day it was coming back up, but there was still periods of time that a profit could have been made on that stock. Next trade is CAT, Caterpillar Incorporated. It tripped at 105.35 at a price of 173.38. It was tripped as a short sell. It closed at 173.26, down 0.19%, so not a lot, but it did close below its tripping, so that's another positive trade. And we'll check the analysis. That page is done. Excuse me. OBV down, morning, sideways somewhat in the afternoon, a bit of recovery mid-afternoon, and downwards again. MACD showing the same thing. Down morning, and down mid-afternoon, and it's actually basically up. So MACD and DI are showing somewhat, OBV and MACD are showing somewhat consistently the same thing. But DI, surprisingly, showing very strongly negative in the morning, and mid-afternoon it reversed a bit. Late afternoon it looked like it was making a recovery, but nothing strongly. But you can see, yes, Bollinger Band showing it dropped and then moved sideways. So the end result is you could have made money because it did drop below its tripping price by the end of the day. IPHI. Infi Corporation, it tripped at 1:15:12 p.m. at a price of 153.54, a short sell. It closed at 153.20, down 1.24%. It closed below its stripping price, so that's another positive. We'll check the analysis. OBV showing somewhat a consistent downward trend. MACD showing very strongly negative in the early afternoon, recovery mid-afternoon, and down again. So MACD showing it somewhat more negative than positive. DI showing very negative in the early afternoon and basically negative at the end of the day, but again showing negative across the board for the most part. And Bollinger Band showing the same thing. It dropped, covered a little bit, moved sideways, moved down a little bit. At the end of the day, it started moving down. So that stock, positive trade. ELAN, Elanco Animal Health Incorporated, tripped at 1:43:43 p.m. at a price of 29.59. It was a buy trade. It closed the day at 29.31. It actually was down for the day. So we caught it on an increase during the day, 143. So it increased right around this area, 29.58, 57, 56. Yeah. Moving sideways after its stripping price. So no strong indication. There's no movement above its tripping price. OBV showing that it was moving in the morning a bit sideways and reversed a bit at the end of the day. So that's what happened. It did trip, but then it reversed. So there was two periods. MACD is showing that it was moving positive. DI is actually showing that it was moving in the late morning fairly strongly. Well, not strongly, it was coming from a strong negative and then reverted to a positive. But then again in the afternoon it was making a strong positive movement downwards, and end of the day it came back. So basically end of the day was what made this come down. This is definitely a strong positive or possible trade. So market is at a possible. Unfortunately, it just didn't maintain its recovery. Next trade is CAAS, China Automotive Systems. It tripped at 1:50 p.m. at a price of 8.83. It was a short sell. It ended the day at 8.68, down 17.33%. So not doing very good. And you can see early morning here, it actually is dropping below that. So This is definitely another positive trade because it closed below its tripping price, and the stock itself was down quite a bit, so that would have been a very positive trade. Moving negative. You can see OBV morning it dropped, moved sideways a bit in the afternoon, afternoon it was moving sideways. MACD actually was showing a recovery in the afternoon, and then late afternoon it was dropping again. DI though, DI is showing very much negative for the whole day practically. So, and Bollinger Band showing a very steady drop downwards. So again, indication wise, it's showing that it was moving downwards. Next trade is DDD, 3D Systems Corporation. It tripped at 2:15:05 p.m. at a price of $8.98. It was a buy trade. It closed the day at 9:05, and it actually was down. So a good catch of a trade that was recovering. And we will check the analysis indicators. Excuse me. Moving somewhat sideways a bit until early afternoon. You can see afternoon it was moving fairly strongly positive on the OBV guys, so volume wise it was moving very strongly positive. MACD positive in the late morning, mid-afternoon, making a bouncing back and forth, but again MACD is showing it was somewhat positive more than it was negative. DI showing a consistent positive movement, and you can see the end of the day it was actually moving back and forth, so the end result is what you see obviously. Bollinger Band, you can see again at the end of the day it was making a recovery, and at the end of the day it's actually coming up, so indicators are showing that it was in general moving positive. KSS, Kohl's Corporation, it tripped at 2:11 p.m. at a price of $36.84. It was a buy trade. It closed at $36.52. It was up 13.42%, so it was up quite a bit. And you can see price-wise, you can see its climb or its open price was basically at that tripping at the price that it was, up previous, so it opened to high. And let's see, 240, right around here, 3690, 3687, and then dropped. Okay, it is probably about a good, at least half an hour, 3/4 an hour where it was above its tripping price. I'm going to consider that a positive, but it would have been one that would have had to been monitored, and you would have had to catch it, obviously, for the most part. But again, you can see the stock itself moved quite a bit up, so it's a good trade in general. So OBV basically back and forth. MACD morning, mid-afternoon, so basically half and a half MACD. DI though, DI showing a somewhat good positive overall. It looks like average-wise it was more positive, and you can see the mid-afternoon activity was very, very, very high positive. So that basically is showing that it was moving very strongly in a positive direction. Bollinger Band moving up a little bit. At the end of the day, it dropping itself, but for the most part, Bollinger Band showing it somewhat moving sideways. But there was opportunity there, and so I'm going to mark it as a positive. Next trade is GPS, The Gap Incorporated. It tripped at 2:45:05 p.m. at a price of $21.81. It was a buy trade. It closed the day at $21.65, and it was up 3.29%. So it didn't end the day above its tripping price, but we can see at 2:45, so right around here, it tripped. Yeah, it was caught at its tripping price. So there was no end result, and there was no point after its tripping that it came above its tripping, but We can see OBV showing very much a good positive direction. MACD showing very much late morning, early afternoon positive, mid-afternoon positive, and then making it basically a reversal at the end of the day. DI showing very strongly, consistent across the board, positive. And you can see Bollinger Band showing the stock was moving up fairly consistently for the whole day, and it made it basically a reversal at the end of the day a bit. This is a very, very, very strong possible. Next trade is CLDR, Cloudera Incorporated. It tripped to 257.50 at a price of 11.50, and it was a short sell, and it closed at 11.33, down 3%. That's another positive trade. And we'll check to see what the analysis is showing. OBV showing moving sideways until the mid-afternoon, and mid to late afternoon it dropped. MACD showing the same thing, DI showing the same thing, Bollinger Band showing the same thing. So basically, end of the day, the stock dropped itself. So the end result is that stock is positive. So we have 14 trades with a possibility of 12 trades. 12 trades divided by 14 trades. So possibility was 85.7% possibility. So again, a very good day. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.